So what is up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech, and this is the Samsung Galaxy J3. This is an ultra affordable Samsung smartphone, and it comes in at under 150 bucks and has S7-like software. And in this video, we're gonna review this guy and kind of help you to decide if this device is gonna be a good device for you, a backup device, whatever your needs may be. I will have this baby customizable, so you can go down below in the description area of this video and go to the sections you would like. If you do not have time, I totally understand. But with that being said, let's go. So welcome to this full review of the Samsung Galaxy J3 2016. This baby is being shot in 4K, so you can go ahead and toggle this video in 4K if you want to get your 4K goodness on. So you can see this is the 2016 edition of the Samsung Galaxy J3, but I want to begin this video with a hardware tour of this baby right here. 4.97 inch or rounded up to 5-inch Super AMOLED display on the front of this device that is HD resolution 720p, 294 pixels per inch, 16 million colors on this baby. And it looks very nice. It does not look like a 1080p display or a 4K display or a 2K display or, you know, all the great amazing displays up in those ranges, but it does look pretty nice. And I think you will enjoy it. So if we go down here, you can see we do have some Samsung software, but I want to talk a little bit more about the hardware before we get into the software. So up at the top, you're going to see some Samsung branding right there, as well as a speaker grill behind that. You will find yourself a 2 megapixel camera here. Ambient light sensors are hidden behind the black screen, and this is the gold color. This is the Boost Mobile variant here, but the variants you have might differ in terms of what you get. In terms of the hardware, they're all pretty much the same, but I'm talking in terms of the specifications like the processor, RAM, and things like that. At the bottom of this device, you're going to find yourself the home button here. You're going to find yourself the multitasking switch key, as well as a recent or back key for the device. On the right side, we're going to find ourselves a power button, as well as you're going to see right here, it does dip down a little bit, similar to the Galaxy S6 design on the Galaxy J3 here. At the bottom of the device, you're going to find yourself micro USB port for charging. That is not quick charging, by the way. Microphone port here. Off to the left, we're going to find ourselves a volume rocker switch here on the Samsung Galaxy J3. At the top of the device, you're going to find yourself a 3.5mm headset jack, which is nice stuff to see. Microphone port there, Qualcomm 4G stickers. On the back of the device, you're going to find yourself the speaker grill. This is a 5 megapixel camera on this variant, although some variants come with an 8 megapixel camera. Flash right here, Samsung logo right here. Let's pop the back of the device off here on the J3. You're going to find yourself a 2600 milliamp hour battery here. You're going to find yourself expandable storage up to 128 gigabytes, as well as a micro SIM card slot right there. And this does fit on pretty nicely, but this is not a waterproof device. So in terms of specifications on this device, I want to just talk about that quickly here on the Samsung Galaxy J3. So you are going to get a 1.5 gigabytes of RAM on here. You're going to get a Qualcomm Snapdragon 410 or 400 series CPU. Basically what that means is that you have a budget strong processor. So this is a strong budget processor. Now in terms of storage, this is a 16 gigabytes of storage. This guy is 7.9 millimeters thick, which is nice, 138 grams, making it a really light device here. And the price comes in at somewhere between $100 and $150. So let's talk about the build quality on the Samsung Galaxy J3 now that we covered the hardware. So in terms of the build quality of the Samsung Galaxy J3, this is typical Samsung plastic design, very much like what we found on the Samsung Galaxy S3 days. But this is a little bit more sturdy, I would say, than the Galaxy S3 days, where you would hear some creaks and pops. This is plastic, but the seams seem to be refined. Everything on this device fits nice and tight. So although it's plastic, you're not going to hear any creaks, pops, or anything like that. It does feel well put together for a plastic device, and it's very ergonomic. And overall, the screen, it is Gorilla Glass, but it's not going to be... Actually, I don't believe this is Gorilla Glass. I confirm this is a different type of glass right here. This is Dragon Tail glass. You can look that up if you would like, but basically, I did not find no scratches on the Samsung Galaxy J3's glass, But you know what? I'm not saying it's perfect. It may scratch if you are pretty reckless with your device. But in terms of build quality, like I say, pretty sturdy stuff. I wouldn't care to throw this thing on the side, something like that. It is a pretty strong, durable device. You might want to get a case if you're worried about, you know, it's scratching and things like that. But I believe this is a pretty strong device that can take a drop from time to time. So let's talk about the screen quality. Although I mentioned about the screen, what it is, let's talk about the quality of it. So I talked about the screen a little bit earlier, how it is a, you know, 5-inch display with a 294 pixels per inch Super AMOLED display, and it is gorgeous, guys. For a 720p display, this display is gorgeous. You can see even on the sharpest viewing angles, you could still see the display. And what I like about AMOLED is that feature alone. Like when you turn it all the way to the side, you could still see the display, which is really something I like about AMOLED. You get those punchy deep blacks, and you get those nice, like, very punchy colors. If you got those colorful wallpapers, you could see down here. Let me put on something like this right here, so you could see just how punchy those colors are on the device. It's a little bit harder to see on camera, but you will notice it immediately if you decide to pick up a Samsung device with an AMOLED display. These things are just gorgeous pieces of tech on display quality. So in terms of display quality, it's pretty strong. It gets very bright, and it's easy to see outdoors with the included outdoors feature that you could see right there next to the brightness slider. So overall, the display, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. I only took a point off because it is only 720p, but on a display this size, 720p is very acceptable. I mean, this display, I would say, is probably, I wouldn't say it's better than the iPhone 7, but it's close to the iPhone 7, and you know, might be even better in some areas. And this device costs like $600 cheaper than an iPhone 7. So yeah, the display is pretty freaking awesome here on this device. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the real world usage of the Samsung Galaxy J3. So in terms of real world usage, basically what I want to talk about is how this guy performs on my day-to-day basis. So I actually found it to be no problem whatsoever. This guy is running Android 5.1.1 Lollipop, which is kind of a bummer, but you know what? Hey, for this price, I'm not going to complain or make excuses. It is a pretty solid operating system. I hope Samsung does go ahead and update this. This is the Boost Mobile variant. You might have gotten Lollipop on other versions of the J3. Let us know if you have a J3 and you did get Lollipop. But overall, in terms of real world usage, the device performed fine. You know, it was pretty strong. I'm not going to say it was fast. It did lag from time to time. It did have a hang here and there, but it was nothing that was going to stop me from making a call, making a text message. It was a functional device. It just wasn't blowing me away in terms of blazing fast performance, but it was a very functional device. And if this is all that's in your price range and you want to get in the Samsung camps, I think you will still have fun and enjoy and get some good practicality out of this device. It's a pretty nice device overall in terms of real world usage. And what I really liked is the ergonomic factor of it. You can see how it just curves and wraps into the palm. You know, Samsung does put effort into like looking at how ergonomics of the device are. As you can see, this thing just wraps in my palm. I got big hands, but I think anybody's hands, they're gonna like how curvy this thing just slides into the corner of your palm. You could see down there. It's just really nice to hold this thing. Even though it's plastic, you're going to enjoy the one-handed ability of this device. And with the 68.2% screen to body ratio, meaning very thin bezels, as well as how they have this plastic kind of wrapping over the top, you don't really have too many accidental presses. And also you really have an easy to reach display here. So for being a 5-inch phone, this is a lot easier to reach across than something like an iPhone, for example, at the same size. So like the iPhone 6s would be harder to reach one hand than this device just because of the screen to body ratio. Let's talk about something else now. Let's talk about the Samsung included features on this device. So welcome to the Samsung included feature section. So basically you do get the whole TouchWiz experience, you could see right here. And I think you guys are gonna like this because it's very much like the newer Samsung software. Not quite as new as like the S7. This actually on this Boost Mobile version has the same exact software that was included on the Note 5 when it first released. So if you had the Note 5 or the Galaxy S6 when they first released, this is basically the software that is on this model right here. Now, let me know once again if you got that updated TouchWiz UX with the S7, you know, look and feel on your device. But if you go ahead and just go get the S7 wallpapers application like I did right here, you can just easily throw on an S7 wallpaper and you can have yourself a Samsung, I'm not going to click their ads, but you can have yourself a Samsung Galaxy S7 budget edition, if you will. So at the top, we're going to pull this down. You can see we do have some blue icons there. We do have Wi-Fi, location, power saving modes, things like that. You do have ultra power saving mode, a Samsung exclusive. Going into the settings of this device, what else is included? This is not a very feature-rich Samsung device, but you do have inclusion of the theme store, which is nice if you want to go get your theme in action on here on your Samsung Galaxy device. So that's nice stuff to see there. You do have some motions and gestures such as Smart Alert, so they give you one of those. You do have display here where you can tweak the screen modes. You can go into AMOLED Cinema mode, AMOLED Photo, Basic mode. It is some nice stuff right there. Going into font, we got our fonts, Samsung fonts, where it changes the whole font UI. You got Daydream feature. You do have lock screen and security. We have easy mode for those of you who want an easy mode. And that's pretty much it on the inclusion. Now let's just talk about storage since we're in here. So this is a 16 gigabyte device, and I had about 10.5 gigs out of the box before I installed some applications on this guy, so that's pretty nice to see there. So overall, pretty, modern Samsung look and feel. Not the latest S7 look and feel on this particular model. Like I say, let me know down below. You do get a few included apps here, the Samsung included apps such as the Samsung Milk Music, Samsung Plus, Galaxy applications right there. You do get the newer browser from Samsung. You do get the camera UI from Samsung. So this is a through and through Samsung device. There is pretty much totally TouchWiz out here on the Samsung Galaxy J3 here. And I think a lot of people will like this for a budget device. It's very much like, I'm not going to say like an iPhone, but it's kind of like the iPhone of Android here on the Galaxy J3 for the budget market. So this is going to be a pretty nice device if you're looking for something like that. Let's talk about the battery life now. So in terms of the battery life, guys, I got to tell you, this was a very strong suit of the Samsung Galaxy J3 with that 720p HD display with that lower powered Snapdragon 400, 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. There's not a lot of power that is sucking out of the battery of the Galaxy J3. So this is an easy all day phone for those of you who like to use your phone quite a bit, and that's where the whole 720p display comes in handy and not having these high powered cores and all those things. You get amazing battery life, and I think you guys are just going to be very happy with the battery life on the Samsung Galaxy J3. Going down into, let's see, you have power saving mode. If you turn on power saving mode, you get even more battery life, although it does reduce performance just a bit. And ultra power saving mode will get you many, many days into the future if you want to use your phone basically like you can say a dumb phone, if you will. That's what I call them, a dumb phone, because they're not smartphones, they're dumb phones. So anyway, if you go ahead and use ultra power saving mode, you'll be good there. But in terms of my on-screen time, I got about, I'd say 5 to 7 hours on screen time with my Samsung Galaxy J3. So I'm pretty happy with that result there. So yeah, that's the battery life on the Samsung Galaxy J3. If you guys are wondering, let's talk about the sound quality on the J3. So in terms of the sound quality, guys, on the J3, it was okay. It wasn't amazing, but it was okay. Let me see if you guys can hear some sound. I'm not sure if you guys can because I'm a little bit far away from the mic here. In terms of the phone is not very close to the mic. YouTube red action right there. Let me go ahead and hit no thanks. Let's go into Nick Ackerman right here. That's the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching this video, let's go ahead and look at, let's see, the J3 unboxing video. And let's see if you could hear it. Not sure if you guys can hear that. Let this ad go through really quickly here. Skip that ad. Let's go into...
So, what's up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech. The Samsung Galaxy J3 2016 unboxing.
So you can really muffle this if you cover it up, but it's not easy to cover that mic up because, I just didn't find myself covering that up. It's got a little indentation too, so if you lay it down flat on a table, you can still hear the sound come through, which is nice. So overall, the speaker and audio quality is okay. It's decent. Don't expect this thing to blow you away. It's not HD level, but it is acceptable, and it's not going to be muffled, and it's not going to make you complain about your phone. Trust me, you're going to enjoy the quality. You're just not going to be blown away by it. It's just going to be something that's practical and functional for you. Now let's talk about something else on this device. I want to talk about the call quality on the Galaxy J3. So in terms of the call quality on the Samsung Galaxy J3, I found myself to have no issues whatsoever in terms of the call quality. Sometimes the signal would go out, but I mean, that happens, I think, on every phone. So I'm not really going to sit up here and say that there was a huge problem with the call quality. With this easy to use dialer here as well as Samsung's feature like this where you can kind of go through the whole contact. Well, it's not working on here because that's an emergency contact, but you could swipe right to call and swipe left to message on the Samsung. I found this to be a pretty strong call quality phone. It's not, and when I say strong, I don't mean the best. I mean, like I said in previous sections of this video, it's practical and functional. The call quality will get the job done here on the Samsung Galaxy J3. If you are wondering about call quality, don't fret. It'll work. It'll get the job done. But it's not going to be crystal clear, amazing HD quality. So just don't expect that, but expect this guy to serve its purpose. Let's just say that it will serve its purpose. Let's get into the next section of this video where I'm going to talk about gaming now. So in terms of gaming, guys, let's see what kind of GPU this rocks here on the Galaxy J3. So this has it looks like the Adreno 306. So that is a lower powered GPU. So this is not an insanely fast, insanely amazing GPU. But I found these more casual games like Temple Run, as you can see right here, they did load up pretty fast and they did work pretty well. But I'm not going to go ahead and say that a 306 is going to rock out with Need for Speed and all those things with ease. It will break a sweat on those. But in terms of these little casual games on the J3, which is what I think most people will play on this device because it doesn't have that much storage to begin with, these will work just fine for you. So if you're a light gamer, just like to play those games that are lower megabytes, they don't take up a lot of storage, they're just, you know, they're lighter games. You know what I'm talking about, casual board games, things like that. You will be fine with gaming on the J3. But you get into something like, let's say, Need for Speed, you get into something like Real Racing 3, you get into something like NBA Live, like you're really going to, the device will break a sweat here and there. It might get a little bit warm, as I noticed in my testing, and you know, it's just not going to be an incredibly buttery smooth gaming experience on the high end of games. But this is not a high end device, so what else would we expect here? So yeah, that's pretty much gaming. Now I want to talk about my negatives of the Samsung Galaxy S, the Samsung Galaxy J3 2016, as well as my positives. We'll wrap this up with the conclusion of this review. All right, guys, so in terms of camera, this is a device that has a 5 megapixel camera as well as a 2 megapixel front. And to get in the camera, it's really easy. You can go ahead like this to get in the camera from the lock screen. But they have this nice feature that they brought over from the Galaxy, you know, S6 and the Note in those devices. So you can go ahead and double tap like that to get into the camera. Nice laid out, easy to use software here for the Galaxy J3. Up at the top, you do have an ability to hide that and just take quick snaps here on the device here. You can go ahead to the front facing camera. Hello there, how you doing? And then you could switch over like this, and you do have modes here. You have the auto mode, the pro mode. So let's go into pro mode. You can see you have white balance, ISO, as well as exposure settings there. If I go into the mode of this device, you can see we do have selfie sound shot right there. Let's go ahead and switch back to the front, go back into modes. And you can see we do have panoramic mode right there, continuous shot for taking continuous pictures, such as this right here. Not fast at all. I mean, it's way slower than something like the faster, more expensive Galaxies, but overall it does work nonetheless. Over here we have beauty face for touching up skin tones. If you don't like how your face looks, I don't know why you wouldn't, but over here, sound shot right there. Going into mode, we do have sports mode right here for motion shots. Although I don't think that it performed that well in the sports mode, but it's there nonetheless. Over here, we do have effects. We do have grayscale, sepia, negative, a timer for getting your creative timing going on. We do have our auto mode and settings where we can go ahead and change our picture size up to 5 megapixels, shoots in the 4:3 aspect ratio at the largest megapixel size. We can shoot up to HD video on the rear. You do have options for VGA, which is flip phone quality. And I don't think you're going to be using that in QVGA, which is like dumb phone quality. You do have the ability to turn on grid lines, location tags, review pictures. You can turn off that quick launch feature, but I don't know why you would. It's very handy. And you can take pictures with the volume key, which makes this feel somewhat like a point and shoot. So how do those pictures look? Well, take a look at these examples right here. All right, guys, so my negatives of this device are only a few. I just want to talk about a few of them. And the first one is TouchWiz. I think TouchWiz does hinder the performance just a little bit here on a device with this caliber of processor and RAM. It just doesn't perform quite as well as you're going to see on the Galaxy S7. And you're going to notice this when you start loading this down with applications and you get to use it for a few weeks. You're going to notice it does get a little bit slower than something like a stock Android device would. So that's one of my negatives there. Another negative is that front-facing camera. It is pretty horrid here on the Galaxy J3. That front-facing camera, selfie queens, selfie boys out there, steer clear of this one. If you're all into the selfie game, you're not gonna like this one. Also, these home buttons do not light up at the bottom, which is a bummer in my opinion, but hey, what can you say? Hey, what can you say? That rhymed. But it's like, it's a cheaper device, so I don't expect it to light up anyway. But over here, in terms of that speaker, that was another negative. I didn't like how that speaker was sounding. It didn't sound that well. And that's pretty it in terms of the negatives. Not many, like I say. For a budget device, this is a pretty well-rounded package here in the Samsung Galaxy J3. Let's talk about my positives. All right, my positives of the device is that display. That display is just gorgeous. I don't care if it's 720p. You're going to really love this display if you decide to pick up the Samsung Galaxy J3. It's a gorgeous little display. If you're a pixel density freak, you're not going to really enjoy this display because you can see pixels if you got your magnifying glass and you're bringing it in close and you're trying to get all that sharp action going on this display. You're not going to get it here, but man, that Super AMOLED really makes up for it being a 720p display and almost 300 pixels per inch. How much more do you need? Let's be honest here. So positive number one, display. Positive number two is for a 5 megapixel camera on the rear. That thing performed pretty solid in daylight. Now in nighttime, you might want to be a little bit cautious. It's not going to be it's going to be pretty noisy at nighttime here on the Galaxy J3. In terms of the rear camera here, the flash I did like. That's another positive. This is a very bright flash for such a cheap phone. And another positive was the battery life of this device. Very strong battery life here on the Galaxy J3. If you're looking for a battery champ budget phone, this one will go the distance. Let's just say that. It will go the distance. So yeah, that's pretty much my positives. What else is a positive? 16 gigs of storage. I did like that they didn't go ahead and throw a nasty little 8 gigs in here. So 16 gigs with expandable storage up to 128 gigabytes was very acceptable. I can live with that. I think most people can for this price point as well. You know, if you're into smartphones like that, you probably wouldn't be buying this phone anyway if you're like a really heavy smartphone user in the first place. So I think storage will just be fine for most people. And another positive, and this is a big one, is portability. This phone is so light, so easy to hold, and it's very portable, and it's also pretty durable. So this is a phone you could just throw on the side, and you probably won't care too much because you have faith that this Samsung plastic is pretty durable. It feels well put together, even though it's cheap feeling, like it doesn't feel like some metal build. It feels like it's solid, like you could just grip this thing all day and it's not gonna break. So it's pretty nice stuff there. So that's my positives. Let's wrap this guy up with a conclusion of this video. So first of all, I just want to say thank you all for sticking around. If you come in here and you skip to this section, well, welcome to the conclusion of this video. I just want to lay out a few people this is for. Are you somebody who, needs a cheap device? You want something that looks good, it's functional, it's practical, don't care about having an amazing, crazy, awesome phone. You just want something that's functional, practical, works well, and you can rely on, has good battery life, decent cameras, and has enough storage to get you to use your core applications. The Samsung Galaxy J3 should be on your list if you have something like only like 75 to 100 bucks to spend. That's pretty much what you could find these guys for on Boost Mobile, as well as on third-party markets such as eBay and things of that nature. Now, another person this device is for is somebody who's trying to buy their, teenager or a kid or somebody who's just getting in the smartphone game. They're trying to get them a phone and they want something nice, but they don't want to break their bank. They're still working, they're trying to pay the bills and all them things. The Samsung Galaxy J3 will suit them just fine. I think they will not complain. It's a pretty nice phone, and it's not something they're going to be like, ew, look at that phone. I think they're going to like this thing pretty much. It's a pretty nice phone for its price point overall. And finally, the person who is just on an extreme, they're just like, I don't care about having Samsung Galaxy S7, but I do like Samsung phones. I want to have a Samsung phone. This might be for you. And one final person is the phone collector. Got to have every other phone in the block. We got to have every phone. Got to add it to the collection. Got to play with the Samsung Galaxy J3. This might be something to throw in your collection as a backup device. This will serve as a great backup device, to be honest. This could hold you over if you decide to, but if you drop and break your flagship, I think you'll be very happy with this holdover Samsung Galaxy J3. But that's pretty much going to wrap my review up of the Samsung Galaxy J3. Yes, I slammed it hard and it is not broken. You can see right there. This is going to wrap my review up the Samsung Galaxy J3. If you guys enjoyed it, go ahead and comment your feedback down below. Go ahead and let me know any questions, comments, concerns you have. Click the like button for me. Share this video as it helps to grow the channel. It helps bringing people over here, and it helps people out most of all to decide if this is going to be a device that's going to suit their life and enhance their life experience. Anyways, subscribe to the channel for more. I will catch you all in the next video. Be sure to be well, and peace.